Alia Ren moved through the crowded hallway like a shadow that no one noticed. Students talked to each other, laughed with their friends, pushed past other people, and lived in their own loud world. Alia walked quietly near the wall, keeping her eyes low and her steps light. No one greeted her. No one stopped her. It was as if she did not exist at all. At Vanguard Station High, she was invisible. She kept her long, dark hair tied back, wore simple clothes, and never spoke unless she had to. Teachers knew her name only because it was written on attendance lists. Her classmates barely remembered she was in the room. Some people whispered she was strange. Others said she preferred to be alone. But no one knew the truth. The truth was that Alia Ren lived two lives. When the school day ended and the students rushed home to relax, Alia did not. She walked calmly to the lower sectors of the station, where the lights were dimmer and the halls more silent. Cameras followed her movements. Guards watched her pass. Heavy doors opened only after scanning her eyes. Inside, everything changed. The air was colder, the rooms brighter, and the people sharper. This was the military core of Vanguard Station. Here, she was not invisible. Here, she was Spectre 07. Alia stepped into the briefing room just as Commander Hale entered. He was tall, gray-haired, and carried himself like a man who had seen too many wars. He did not smile, but nods of respect followed his steps. The room filled with officers and tactical experts, all preparing for the next strike. Spectre 07, Commander Hale said, his voice firm. We have a situation on the Dusk Front Belt. The Cathar Dominion has launched another raid. He tapped a display, showing ships moving across a holomap. They are testing our lines again. We need you on the next deployment. Alia stood straight. Understood, Commander. No hesitation, no fear. On the battlefield, she was invincible. Her heart did not race at the thought of combat. It sharpened. Fighting made sense to her. School did not. War was simple. Survive, protect humanity, destroy the enemy. School was complicated. Talk to people, pretend to be normal, pretend to be a teenage girl. As she entered the armory, the artificial lights gleamed off her black combat suit. It was made of flexible armor plating and adaptive nanoweave. The suit recognized her touch and adjusted to her movements. She strapped on her wrist blades and checked the charge on her pulse rifle. Her thoughts settled. Spectre 07 had no space for doubts. Minutes later, she boarded the drop shuttle with a squad of soldiers. They looked at her with a mixture of awe and relief. They knew that if Spectre 07 was on their mission, they had a chance to come back alive. The shuttle shook as they entered the war zone. Plasma fire streaked past the windows. Alarms beeped. The pilot shouted coordinates, but Alia was calm. Then the hatch opened. The battlefield was chaos metal wreckage, burning ships, smoke rising into a red-tinted sky. Cathar creatures moved with smooth, unnatural speed. Their armor shimmered with purple light, and their weapons pulsed like living things. Alia rushed forward. She dodged the first plasma bolt, slid under another, and fired her pulse rifle at a Cathar soldier. Her shot hit its armor, cracking the glowing plates. It stumbled back, and Alia lunged forward, driving her wrist blade into its chest. She moved like lightning. She jumped onto a broken structure, shot two enemies, and spun to block another blade with her forearm guard. She kicked, flipped, and struck with perfect aim. Her human body carried enhancements that allowed her to match alien strength and surpass alien speed. Her squad followed behind her, taking positions and firing at targets that Alia forced into the open. Within minutes, their side of the field was secured. Spectre 07, clearing is complete. A soldier called. His voice shook with adrenaline. You saved us again. Alia nodded but said nothing. She did not fight for praise. She fought because humanity needed someone who could. The mission continued. They destroyed the Cathar communication node and forced the enemy to retreat. When the last alien fell and the battlefield turned silent, Alia exhaled softly. Another victory. But she felt no joy, because she knew she would return to a place where victory meant nothing. A place where she was just another invisible girl. The shuttle brought them back to Vanguard Station. As always, she changed clothes quickly, hid her combat suit, and entered the student elevators. It was early morning now. Her school day was about to start. She looked in the mirror of the elevator. The face staring back at her was young, calm, and tired. Her hands still shook slightly from the battle, but she hid them in her sleeves. At school, she became no one. When she entered class, students chatted loudly. One girl laughed about a recent drama between classmates. A boy was showing a video game on his tablet. No one saw Alia sit at the back, except one person. A new student, Darren Holt, turned his head and looked at her. He had arrived 2 weeks ago, and unlike everyone else, he noticed things. He watched people carefully. He had sharp eyes, observant eyes, and those eyes were now fixed on Alia. She pretended not to notice. She kept her head down, flipping open her school tablet. But her senses sharpened automatically. Her training made her aware of every movement, every sound. Why was he watching her? Darren tilted his head slightly, as if trying to understand something about her, as if he had seen something he shouldn't have. Alia frowned internally. Had he noticed the bruises she had tried to hide? Had he seen her return early in the morning? Had he followed her? No, he couldn't have. She was too careful. Still, she felt a shift in the air, a strange uneasiness. Later, in the cafeteria, Alia sat alone like always. She ate quietly, listening to the noise around her. People joked, argued, complained about homework. None of them knew a war was happening not far from the station. None of them knew she was fighting every night so they could live peacefully. She preferred it that way. But today, something felt different. Darren sat down at the table next to hers, not directly across from her. Not close enough to seem strange, but close enough to watch her again. His presence made her cautious. She kept her posture relaxed, hiding the tension that rose in her arms. He took a bite of food, looked at her, looked away, and then looked again. She could feel his confusion, his curiosity. Humans were unpredictable. Harder to read than aliens sometimes. Alia lowered her gaze. She hoped he would lose interest, but quietly Darren spoke. You're different. His voice wasn't mocking. It was simply honest. Alia froze for a second. She kept her expression still. No, I'm not. You move like you're listening for something, Darren said softly. And today, you came to school tired. Really tired. More than anyone else. Her fingers stiffened around her fork. He noticed too much. But she could not show fear. She forced herself to shrug. I don't sleep well. That's all. Darren studied her again. If you say so. His voice was calm, but Alia sensed something deeper. He did not believe her. The bell rang. Students rushed to class. Alia used the distraction to slip out quickly, avoiding Darren's gaze. In the quiet hallway, she breathed slowly, trying to calm her racing heart. She had faced monsters on the battlefield without blinking. But the idea of someone discovering her secret life terrified her, because if people learned the truth, everything would fall apart. Later that evening, back in the military sector, Commander Hale met her again. Spectre 07, he said. Our intel indicates that Cather spies may be operating near the civilian levels. Be cautious. If they find out who you are, you will become their primary target. Alia nodded. I understand. But as she walked out of the briefing room, only one thought troubled her. If Cather's spies were here, and if Darren was watching her so closely, then her two worlds were beginning to collide. For the first time, Spectre 07 felt something she did not know how to fight. She felt seen the night on Vanguard. Station was quiet on the surface, but deep inside the military levels, alarms were flashing red. Alia Wren entered the control chamber with quick, sharp steps, her school uniform replaced by her combat suit. Her hair was tied tight, her eyes focused and cold. She stood before the large, holographic display that showed new movement along the human defensive lines. Commander Hale looked older than usual. His face was tight and his hands gripped the table. Spectre 07, things are changing. The Cather Dominion is pushing harder. Their attacks aren't random anymore. They're organized. Calculated. Alia stepped closer. Are they testing our defense grid again? Worse, Hale said. They've created openings in sectors we believed were secure, and they used a type of energy weapon we haven't seen before. The hologram zoomed in on a blue-tinted explosion. It dissolved entire squads in seconds. Alia studied the image. The way the energy spread, the shape of the impact, it wasn't something Cather had used before. It looked like a weapon designed to break human armor and overwhelm enhanced soldiers. They built this to target us, Alia said, as Hale answered. And most likely, to target you. Alia felt a chill run down her arms. They know Spectre 07? Hale nodded slowly. We've intercepted fragments of their communication. They refer to you as the human phantom. They want you eliminated. Alia's jaw tightened. If the Cather were focused on her, the danger to the station increased. Not because she feared for herself, but because anyone near her would become a target, including the school, Hale continued. You'll be deployed in 1 hour. Your mission is to destroy the prototype of their new weapon before they produce more. A scout drone tracked it to the edge of the Dusk Front Nebula. Alia nodded, her voice steady. I'll take care of it, even if inside. She felt a strange heaviness she didn't understand. 1 hour later, she sat inside the dropship, the engines roaring as it exited the station and entered the dark blue cloud of the nebula. The soldiers around her whispered nervously. The new weapon scared even trained fighters. But Alia stayed calm. The ship landed silently on a floating metal platform built by the Cather. Strange structures rose in jagged shapes, glowing with purple and blue light. The air felt heavy, charged with unstable energy. Alia stepped out first. Stay behind me, she told the squad. They followed her, trusting her completely. Cather soldiers appeared from the shadows. Their armor shimmered like liquid metal. Their weapons pulsed with unnatural light. Alia moved. She sprinted toward the enemy, firing her pulse rifle with perfect precision. One shot broke an alien shield. Another shattered armor. She slid low, avoiding a spear of energy aimed at her head. Then she leaped forward, driving her blade into the attacker's neck. Behind her, her squad fired from cover, taking down the enemies she pushed back. Minutes later, Alia spotted the prototype weapon at the far end of the platform. It was tall, shaped like a pillar, and surrounded by a glowing sphere of shifting shapes. The air around it crackled with dangerous energy. Alia approached carefully. She placed a charge at the base of the device. Explosive set, detonating in 15 seconds. Okay? But as she turned, she froze. A panel on the device flickered with familiar symbols. Human symbols? She moved closer. The screen displayed data taken from Vanguard Station itself. Student records. Location maps. Schedules. Her eyes widened. The Cather were gathering information about the school. Why? Her heart pounded inside her armor. They weren't just after military targets anymore. They were planning something else. Something worse. Spectre 07. Status. Hale's voice came through her cum. Alia forced her voice steady. The prototype is destroyed. But Commander, they have data from the school. They've been scanning the civilian levels. There was a moment of silence. Return immediately, Hale said, his voice sharper than before. We need to investigate. This changes everything. Alia ran back to the ship as the explosion lit the nebula in blue fire. Something horrible was coming, and she knew it. Back on Vanguard Station, Alia had only 1 hour before school started. She scrubbed off combat dust, put on her uniform, and packed her school tablet. Her hands trembled slightly from the shock of what she saw. The Cather. Gathering school information could only mean one thing. They were going to infiltrate. She walked into her classroom looking calm, but inside she was tense. Every face she saw, every voice she heard, felt heavier today. She studied the students carefully, her eyes scanning for anything unusual. Nothing yet, then Darren. Holt entered the room. He glanced at Alia the moment he walked in. Their eyes met for a second. His expression was calm, but she sensed something hidden in his look. She quickly looked away. The teacher began the lesson. Students whispered, scrolled through their devices, or doodled on their tablets. Alia kept her focus sharp. She listened to every sound, every footstep, every breath, but nothing happened. At lunch, Alia sat alone again. She picked at her food, her mind stuck on the strange data she had seen. Why would the Cather care about a school filled with teenagers? Why collect records of people who were not soldiers? Unless they suspected that a soldier was hiding among them. Her stomach tightened. Spectre 07 was a secret, known only by top commanders. But the Cather might have learned that a human Wapena, special operative, was somewhere on Vanguard Station. They might not know her identity yet, but if they did... Her eyes lifted when she felt someone approach. Darren sat down again. He didn't say anything at first. He ate quietly, as if trying not to scare her away. But Alia felt his curiosity like a weight on her shoulders. Finally, he spoke. There was another attack last night. His voice was low. The news says the military won again. Alia didn't answer. Darren continued. You're tired again. And your wrist. You're hiding an injury. Alia froze. She kept her voice flat. I'm fine. You're not, Darren said softly. Alia stood suddenly. She didn't want to hear more. She couldn't let him get close. She walked quickly out of the cafeteria. She didn't look back. That evening, she returned to the military level. Hale was waiting for her. Spectre 07. Our investigation confirms your report, Hale said. Cather, infiltration units, may already be inside the station. Alia straightened. Where? We don't know yet. But be careful. If they discover your identity, they'll strike fast. He paused. And they might target the school first. Alia's heart dropped. Why the school? She asked. Because you're there. And because it's full of civilians? They know you'll protect them. They can use that against you. Alia clenched her hands. They won't touch the school. Hale looked at her with a serious expression. You can't be everywhere at once. Alia didn't answer. She turned and walked out of the room, her steps heavy but determined earlier. She feared Darren's questions. Now, she feared something far worse. If Cather spies were already among the students, then her two separate lives were breaking apart, and soon. Protecting her secret wouldn't matter. Protecting everyone else would. The next morning began like any other day. But Alia felt something was different the moment she stepped into the school hallway. The air felt heavier. The noise of students talking sounded strange, as if something underneath it was whispering danger. She walked carefully, her senses sharp. Her training had taught her how to detect threats, even in silence. But today she felt something she could not easily explain. A cold pressure settled in her chest. She scanned the hallway. Students walked in groups, laughing, hurrying to class, complaining about homework as usual. But mixed among them, Alia sensed something out of place. Something new. It wasn't loud or visible. It was just a feeling, a stillness she recognized from the battlefield, the kind that came right before an ambush. Darren Holt walked past her, but this time he did not stare. He looked troubled, his eyebrows drawn together. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but then closed it and continued walking. Alia entered her classroom and sat in the same seat at the back. She listened carefully to every sound. 3 seconds later, she heard footsteps that did not match the rhythm of normal students. Slow, precise, controlled. She lifted her eyes. 3 new students walked into the class. They wore the same uniforms as everyone else, but something about them felt wrong. Their movements were too smooth, too balanced. Their eyes didn't look around like normal teenagers. They stared straight ahead with focus. Like soldiers entering a battlefield, Alia's heartbeat slowed, her training taking over. She studied them calmly. The teacher smiled warmly. We have 3 new transfer students today. Please welcome them. The students introduced themselves. The first spoke with a perfectly even voice. My name is Laren. The second's voice was just as controlled. DJ's. The third smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Rin. Alia recognized the unnatural calm immediately. These were not humans, or at least, not normal humans. They were too perfect, too emotionless, too synchronized. Something about the shape of their shoulders, the way they breathed, how they scanned the room felt familiar. Katha bioconstructs. Disguised as teenagers, her chest tightened. The Kahether had found a way to infiltrate the station. And worse, they had entered her school. They were looking for someone. They were looking for her. Alia forced her face to stay blank. She pretended to focus on her tablet, but every part of her attention was on the three newcomers. They sat in different parts of the room, spreading out. They watched everyone, but Alia felt their eyes land on her again and again. Not long. Just quick, careful glances, enough to confirm. Alia breathed slowly. She had to stay calm. If she reacted, they would know she suspected them. But she needed answers. During lunch, she followed them silently. They walked through the halls with the same steady steps. They didn't talk to each other, but they moved like a trained unit. Alia moved behind a pillar to stay hidden, observing them. Then she heard one of them whisper. Their voice almost mechanical. Target not identified yet. Continue observation. Alia felt the floor beneath her seem to shift. They hadn't found her. Not yet. But if they were scanning the entire student body, it would only be a matter of time. Alia backed away slowly. She had to warn Commander Hale. She had to protect the school before she could leave. A voice spoke behind her. You're following them. Alia spun fast. Darren stood there holding a tray of food. His expression was serious. Alia's heart pounded, but she kept calm. I wasn't following anyone. Darren stepped closer, lowering his voice. You watch everyone like you're waiting for an attack. And those new students, something feels wrong with them. Alia stiffened. You're imagining it. I'm not, Darren said. And I think you know exactly what's happening. Alia looked away. She couldn't answer. She couldn't let him get involved. But Darren didn't leave. Alia, whatever you're hiding, you're not alone. I can help. Alia's chest ached. She wanted to push him away, but a part of her wished she didn't have to handle everything alone. Still, she shook her head. I don't need help. He frowned. Everyone needs help. Before Alia could respond, the station intercom beeped. A sharp, urgent tone. The lights flickered. Then a robotic voice announced. Attention all civilians. Emergency lockdown protocol activated. Seek shelter immediately. Alia's blood froze. This wasn't a drill. Students screamed. The school erupted in chaos. People ran through the halls, pushing and crying. Teachers yelled instructions. Alarm lights flashed red. Alya felt the ground tremble. An explosion. Another one. Alia looked toward the windows. Outside. She saw something horrifying. Small Kather drones swarming the outer shield of Vanguard Station. A full attack. Alia turned to Darren. Stay here. Hide. Don't move. He grabbed her wrist. Alia, wait. She pulled free. Please. Her voice softened. Just stay safe. Before he could respond, she ran toward the nearest hallway. She had no armor. No weapons. But she had no choice. She moved through crowds of terrified students. She ducked into a storage room and grabbed anything she could use as a weapon. Metal rods, sharp tools, wires. Then she moved. The school doors burst open. The three fake students entered. But they were no longer pretending. Their eyes glowed with faint purple light. Their skin shimmered as their human disguise began to fade. Kather hybrids. One of them spoke. Voice distorted. Target located in this zone. Alia hid behind a corner, her breathing silent, but she couldn't stay hidden for long. Students were trapped. The hybrids were scanning them one by one. She slipped through the shadows, moving silently like trained soldiers. She reached a group of students cornered against a wall. A hybrid raised its arm. Forming a blade-like weapon, Alia launched forward. She swung the metal rod and hit the hybrid's arm, knocking the weapon aside. It turned toward her with a sharp, mechanical screech. She rolled under its attack, grabbed a fallen pipe, and struck its knee joint. The hybrid staggered. Students gasped. Alya used the moment to shout, "Run!" They scattered, sprinting through the hall. The hybrid recovered and lunged at her. She dodged narrowly and struck again, using everything she remembered from training. She had no supersuit now, no enhanced armor, but she still had skill. She grabbed a wire from her pocket, wrapped it around the hybrid's neck, and pulled hard. The hybrid struggled. She kicked its back, dragging it down. Finally, it collapsed, sparks flying from its chest. But she had no time to rest. The other two hybrids appeared at the far end of the hall, their eyes locked onto her. One spoke. Spectre 07 confirmed. Alia's heart stopped. They knew who she was. She turned and sprinted down the hallway. The hybrids chased her, their steps unnaturally fast. Alia ducked into a stairwell, jumped down to flights, and ran toward the lower levels of the school. But the hybrids were behind her. She crashed into a supply door and locked it. Heavy footsteps landed on the other side. They slammed into the door again and again. Each hit harder than the last. Alia took deep breaths. She needed to escape. She needed to lead them away from the students. She jumped out, through the back window of the room, and landed on the lower platform outside. The hybrids broke through the door. Alia sprinted across the metal walkway, her lungs burning. A drone suddenly crashed into the side of the school, sending shards of metal flying. Alia leaped to the side, barely avoiding it. The hybrids were closing in. Alia forced her legs to move faster. She reached the maintenance tunnels and slipped inside. Darkness swallowed her. She leaned against the wall, panting. She could hear the hybrids scanning the area outside. She looked at her scraped hands. She thought of the students. She thought of Darren. Alia clenched her fist. She would protect them, even if she had to fight alone. For the first time since becoming Spectre 07, Alia felt fear. Not for herself, but for everyone she cared about. The school was in danger, and the hybrids were hunting her. She inhaled deeply. She wasn't going to run forever. She was going to end this no matter the cost. Lena walked through the academy halls the next morning with a quiet mind. She did not want attention. She never did. But after the scouting mission report, whispers followed her everywhere. Some students looked at her with fear, some with curiosity, some with disbelief. But Lena kept her eyes forward. She moved like a shadow, calm, silent, invisible. Only Zane walked beside her, pretending not to notice the stares. "You know," he said softly, "you saved a whole team yesterday. But here, you look like you want to hide under a floor tile." Lena did not answer. She only pulled her hood lower. Zane sighed. "You're impossible." Later in class, the teacher displayed holographic maps of the enemy empire's movements. But Lena's mind drifted. She kept replaying the moment the tracker bot landed on her shoulder. She still felt something strange, a pull, a warning. Then the door slid open. Commander Rhea entered. The entire class stiffened. She never visited students personally. "I need Lena Ardell," she said. Every head turned. Lena froze, confused. "Me," Rhea nodded. "Now." Lena followed her to the elevator, Zane trailing behind until the doors closed. Inside, Rhea stood tall and strict, but her voice softened. "You did well yesterday," she said. "But your report is missing something." Lena looked down. "I wrote everything." "No," Rhea said. "You felt something. I saw it on your face." Lena's chest tightened. "It was nothing, just instinct." "Instinct is never nothing. Not for someone like you." The elevator doors opened to the command floor. Screens covered the walls. Officers moved around quickly. The atmosphere felt tense. Rhea guided Lena to a round table. A hologram flickered to life, an enemy warship, marked in red. "This ship has moved into forbidden space," Rhea said. The officers looked tired, restless. "It's testing us." One officer muttered. "No," another said. "It's searching for something." Lena's heart skipped. Rhea turned to her. "You saw the tracker. You felt something. What was it?" Lena swallowed. "It wasn't scanning my suit. It was scanning me." My energy. Like it recognized something. Silence spread across the room. One officer frowned. That's not possible, other whispered, unless the rumors are true. Rhea raised a hand to silence them. She looked at Lena with eyes full of weight. Lena, there's something you need to know about your past. Lena felt her legs weaken. My past? Rhea exhaled slowly. You were not found by accident. When you were a child, your escape pod crashed near one of our border stations. You were the only survivor. The pod carried no human signature. Its technology did not match ours. Lena's breath trembled. She shook her head. But I'm human. You look human, Rhea said. And maybe you are. But there is something different inside you. The enemy empire has been searching for a long time. For someone like you, Lena stepped back. Her hands shook. She felt her heart race. I don't understand, she whispered. We don't fully understand either, Rhea admitted. But we protect you because whatever you are important and dangerous to them. Lena's mind spiraled. The room felt too bright, too loud. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. Because you were a child, Rhea said. And because you deserved a normal life. Or as normal as possible. A sharp alarm suddenly echoed through the command floor. Unidentified vessel approaching. An officer shouted. The hologram of the enemy ship appeared again, now closer. It's the same warship, Rhea said. It followed the scanner's signal. Lena felt cold. They're coming for me. Outside the windows, the sky darkened as a shadow passed over the academy dome. Students looked up in fear. Cadets ran in confusion. The enemy ship's engines hummed like thunder. Inside, officers moved quickly. Shields up. Activate defense cannons. Prepare evacuation routes. Rhea grabbed Lena's shoulder. Listen to me. You must go to the lower bunker. Stay hidden. Do not use your abilities. If they detect your energy, they will break through every wall to reach you. But Lena shook her head. No, I can't hide. Not if everyone else is in danger because of me. This is not your fight, Rhea said firmly. Lena's voice wavered. But it is, if they want me. They'll destroy everything to get me.
Ouch!
The ship outside charged its main cannon. A deep, rumbling sound echoed. Impact in 20 seconds. An officer yelled. Rhea turned to Lena again. Please, you are not ready. You don't understand what you are capable of. Lena's eyes hardened. Fear faded. Determination replaced it. Then let me learn now. A blast shook the building. Lights flickered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Students screamed in panic. Zane ran through the hall, searching desperately. Where is she? Where's Lena? He turned a corner and nearly collided with her. She stood in the center of the hallway, breathing hard, shaking but standing firm. Lena, he shouted, grabbing her arms. Are you okay? She nodded weakly. Zane. Something's happening. I need to go outside. His eyes widened. Outside? Are you crazy? That ship is aiming at the academy. She looked into his eyes. They're here for me. I have to face them. Zane's grip tightened. I'm not letting you go alone. Lena almost smiled. I know. Outside, wind roared as debris fell. The enemy warship hovered low. Its hull glowed with symbols she'd never seen. Lines of red energy pulsed like veins. The ship's speakers boomed with a cold voice. Energy signature located, target identified, surrender the girl. Lena stepped forward. Students gasped. Teachers shouted for her to get back. Zane stood beside her, fists clenched. Rhea ran out behind them. Lena, stop. But Lena did not stop. She looked up at the massive ship. Why me? She shouted. The voice replied. You hold what was lost. You carry the light of our ancient line. You belong to us. Lena's heart pounded. Something inside her chest pulsed. Warm, bright. Her vision flickered. For a moment, she saw flashes of unknown stars, unknown worlds, unknown faces. Zane noticed her eyes glowing faintly. "Lena, your eyes." She fell to her knees, gripping her head. Pain surged through her. The pulse inside her chest grew stronger. Like a heartbeat that wasn't hers, Rhea ran to her. "Lena, fight it." Lena's voice broke. I don't know how." The enemy ship's energy cannons charged again. Rhea shouted to the soldiers, "Protect the students. Get everyone inside." Zane knelt beside Lena. "Look at me. Listen to my voice." But Lena couldn't focus. The energy inside her surged, burning hotter. The air around her rippled. Cracks of light appeared on the ground. Beneath her, the ship's voice spoke again. "Awaken. Child of the Starforged." The world went white. A shockwave of bright energy exploded outward. Students were pushed back. Rhea shielded her face. Zane held on to Lena, but was thrown backward. When the light faded, Lena stood at the center of the crater, glowing, breathing hard. Her hair lifted slightly in the energy field around her. The enemy ship's cannons dimmed. They had found what they were. Looking for Lena's life, the life she thought she knew was gone forever. The battlefield was silent. For a moment after the shockwave faded, dust floated in the air. Broken pieces of stone rolled across the ground. Everyone stared at Lena, unable to understand what they were seeing. She stood in the center of the crater, glowing with a soft golden light. Her eyes were bright like twin stars. Her hair lifted gently as if touched by an invisible wind. The air around her felt warm and heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Zane tried to stand but stumbled. His hands trembled. "Lena, what happened to you?" Lena looked at him, breathing hard. She didn't understand the energy flooding inside her. It felt powerful. It felt ancient. It felt alive. Commander Rhea approached carefully. She looked both shocked and worried. "Lena, listen to me. You must calm down. If your energy keeps rising, it will attract every enemy within 100 miles. Lena felt her heart race faster. "I don't know how to stop it." The sky above rumbled. The enemy warship lowered even closer, its engines shaking the Academy grounds. The cold metallic voice echoed. "Again, the star-forged light has awakened. The child must be returned to her legacy." Lena's hands clenched. "I don't belong to you," Ship responded immediately. "You belong to us. You hold the key to our lost power." Everyone around her looked confused, scared, and helpless. The Academy soldiers aimed their weapons, but they knew nothing would break through the warship's armor. Rhea gritted her teeth. "We need to evacuate the students. Zane, take her inside." But before she could finish, Lena stepped forward. "No." Her voice was stronger, steadier, almost echoing. Rhea stared at her. "Lena, don't do this. They will capture you." Lena shook her head slowly. "If I run, they will destroy everything. They are here for me. So I will end this now." Zane grabbed her arm. "You're not facing that thing alone." She looked at him with soft eyes. "Zane, I don't want to lose you. But if you stay close, you will get hurt." Zane didn't let go. "I don't care." Her heart tightened, but she stepped back gently until his grip loosened. She walked toward the center of the battlefield. The ground glowed under her feet. The air hummed as energy gathered around her. The ship charged its cannons again. Red light swelling like a rising sun. Rhea shouted, "Lena, get back. That shot will vaporize you." Lena raised her hands slowly. "Let's see." The cannon fired. A giant beam of red energy streaked toward her, tearing through the air. Students screamed. Zane yelled her name. Rhea reached out helplessly. Lena closed her eyes. The beam struck. A blinding explosion erupted. Dust shot upward. The ground shook violently. Heat washed over everyone. For a moment, no one breathed. Then the dust settled. Lena was still standing. Her golden energy surrounded her like a shield. The cannon's attack had hit her and vanished. Gasps echoed across the academy. Zane's voice cracked. She blocked it. Even the enemy ship paused, its engines flickering. Rhea whispered, "This power. It's beyond anything our scanners ever detected." Lena opened her eyes. A calm fire burned inside them. She lifted her hand. Toward the sky, golden light gathered around her palm. The enemy ship charged a second shot, but Lena moved first. She thrust her hand upward. A column of golden energy shot out of her palm, splitting the air like lightning. It struck the ship directly, ripping through its shields. The ship trembled violently. Metal cracked. Sparks erupted. The ship's voice roared. Unstable energy. Unidentified. Impossible. Lena pressed harder. The light in her hand grew brighter, hotter, with a final push. The golden beam exploded through the ship's core. A massive blast lit up the sky. The warship split apart, breaking into burning fragments that rained down far beyond the academy. Students ducked. Soldiers shielded their eyes. The shock wave blew across the field. When everything calmed, only silence remained. Lena fell to her knees, exhausted. The glowing faded. Her eyes dimmed back to normal. Zane rushed to her and wrapped his arms around her tightly. "Lena, are you okay? Please say something." She leaned against him, breathing weakly. I'm okay. Just tired." Rhea ran to them, staring in disbelief. "Lena, you destroyed a warship with your bare hands." Lena gave a tired smile. "I didn't know I could do that." Rhea knelt beside her. "This changes everything. They know you're here now. They will send more ships. Stronger ones." Lena lowered her gaze. "So I can't stay at the academy anymore." Zane tightened his hold. "No, you're not leaving us." Rhea looked at him gently. "Zane, she isn't safe here. None of us are if the enemy keeps coming." He swallowed hard, pain filling his eyes. Lena touched his hand softly. "Zane, I don't want to leave. But if I stay, they'll kill everyone to reach me." Zane shook his head. "Then I'm coming with you." Lena froze. "What?" He nodded firmly. "I don't care where you go. I don't care who your enemies are. I'm staying with you." Rhea stood and looked at them both. "You won't be alone," she said. "We will form a special team. We'll train you, protect you, and help you discover what you really are." Lena blinked in surprise. "A team." Rhea smiled for the first time. "Yes, a team built around you. Because you are not a threat. You are hope." Zane grinned. "See? Even the commander believes in you." Lena felt warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, the energy inside her didn't feel scary. It felt like a part of her, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone. Rhea helped her stand. The sun broke through the clouds, shining over the academy. Students gathered around, staring at Lena with awe, fear, and admiration. The girl who was invisible in school, the girl who was invincible on the battlefield, now stood as something even greater. Lena looked toward the horizon, where smoke from the fallen warship drifted. "I don't know what I am," she whispered. Zane took her hand. "Whatever you are, we'll face it together." Lena smiled softly, and the next chapter of her life, of her destiny, began.